All right, so today we have up and coming queer indie artist Magnus Riise. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, thank you. So let me begin by asking, who is Magnus Riise and what is he all about?
Good question. I mean, it's definitely with my project, it's been very important to me to be very unapologetic, very me, very honest about my experiences, very unapologetically queer, very honest about my mental health. Um, and uh, a songwriter who's kind of not scared to talk about their experiences, and if that bothers other people, that's their issue.
Exactly, yes. Well, how would you describe your musical style and aesthetic?
I mean, definitely lives in a contemporary pop kind of space. I don't think I have like necessarily thread the needle exactly. I think I love being inspired by different genres. I love the idea of being able to collaborate with artists who are both similar and very different to me. But yeah, I think it lives in a contemporary space that has like somewhat of a digital sound, but still kind of rooted in I tend to write with musicians who are all people who use physical instruments. So
Okay.
I think
Okay.
that affects the sound a little bit.
Awesome, fantastic. So you released your debut EP Until Tomorrow in April. How exciting and meaningful was it for you to release this project out into the world?
I mean, it was everything. It really, you know, it's so honest about so many things, and the videos are incredibly, out there in many ways. But I just figured, I think a lot of it was the pandemic when it kind of puts things into perspective, and I just decided, well, what's the point in, you know, doing something halfway. So I was like, this is the project that is the most honestly me, most true me. And some people will respond to it and others will not. And that's totally okay. It's not for them. So
Exactly. So has it been received by audiences very well?
yeah, I've actually been very happy to see that it's been an incredibly positive response to everything so far. Of course, there are the internet trolls,
Of
especially with the
course.
last video. There's been some people on Twitter who found it, and the classic "stay away from my children" and all that. And I don't know how that video has anything to do with that, but it comes with the territory, and I was 100% prepared for it.
Yes, got to be prepared for the ignorant idiots, seriously.
Exactly. And I think it's a conversation with my parents too, when they were maybe, they're very supportive, but they were worried they're like, maybe you're like pushing people away with like going this far. And I said, listen, I can hold someone's hand and the same comments will happen. Because the
Exactly.
issue is not with going far. The issue is that they just hate queer people. So I was like, that's not going to change. So why should I tailor to them? And I just don't tailor to people who don't like who I am.
I mean, love you or hate you, just you're not going to change for anyone.
Yeah.
Yes. So is there an overall story that the EP is telling?
Yeah, I think the reason why I landed on Until Tomorrow as the title is I think, an overarching theme is this idea of getting through one more day. Whether that is in the title song where it's kind of about getting through one more night or one more day with the person you're with. For You is a song that's about, surviving another day with your own inner struggles. So yeah, this idea of both being very honest about like basically saying the things that we think but we're not able to say, simultaneously with this idea of just getting through another day, I think is like sort of the main theme.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And how many tracks are on the EP?
There's 5 tracks and currently 4 videos, but there will be a fifth as well. So it's I like to refer to it as a visual EP in that regard.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, tell us about the latest video, Earthquake, right?
Yes.
I
Earthquake,
wa
it was. Say
yeah,
again.
I watched it and it was just like absolutely breathtaking, especially like the underwater sequences. So yeah, just tell us more about this.
Yeah, I mean, it was a wild shoot. It's like I'd never done underwater performance ever before in my life. It was an idea I came, the idea about the video for me was that the water kind of represents the relationship. Water to me is something that it's the one thing we all need to survive, but also water is like the most dangerous thing in the world. Put the strongest mountain up against the ocean and the ocean will always win. But it also looks very inviting and sort of the fear of what hides below the surface. So that was kind of the initial idea, that it, escalates through the video. because the song is all about a toxic relationship that you can't help but go back to again and again. So you kind of both have to tell the story of understanding why you would want to go back, but also understanding why you shouldn't go back. And I had the most amazing like team with me on it. Barrett is fantastic, and Monica, who obviously I'm rooting for her to win the VMA in a few weeks. She's incredible, and she really took to the idea and grew it beyond what I could imagine. So it was such an amazing shoot. I shot it out in Los Angeles, where I haven't spent a lot of time, but it was thrilling and very happy with the result.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, watching some of these videos, you're kind of touching on some very vulnerable areas. So, what has that felt like for you personally?
Think it's been a process. I mean, I came from more of a theater background originally, and I think the audition game, it can be tough because you really try to sort of figure out what do the people behind the table want me to be. And I think there's a certain element as an actor of this idea of being a blank canvas so that you can step into anything. And I think the danger of that, and I think that happened a little with me, is you became a little bit of an anonymous version of myself. So I took a break from that and I really focused in on my music. And it's ironic because it's the opposite, because no one wants an anonymous artist. So
Exactly.
I kind of just played around with like, what is me? And two of the first things I did was I pierced my ears and colored my hair because I'd always wanted to do it, but it was like it pigeonholes me too much. So so yeah, I think with this project, it was the really nice thing was to be at a place in my life where I felt that as long as I feel good about what I'm making and I feel like I can stand behind it, then I don't really care what the reaction is. Of course, I would love for people to love it. Like you put stuff out there because you want it to speak to someone, but I think this idea that you're trying to sort of satisfy what society wants from you, I'm kind of past that.
Yeah.
And I think this album 5-6 years ago, not that it would have hid who I was, but I think it would have been a much more palatable version that can hit a little broader.
Oh yeah, for sure. I agree. Well, which track would you say stands out the most and why?
Um, I think, From the Ground Up was the first single, and I think that's maybe the one that like has the most singable chorus that people kind of hum along to. Until Tomorrow, because of the videos, certainly made a bit of a splash because it's very out there, that video. But I just felt like I'd never seen really true authentically represented queer sex on screen. And I think we also have a tendency to see queer sex on screen as more scandalous, even with the same actions, just because it is queer. So for me, that was huge. It was actually the first video I wrote on the project. And yeah, so I think that definitely took notice. There were a lot of messages being like, I just saw the video. Gosh, you're not hiding much. I was like, well, yeah, because it's like if you're gonna do that, I think that's what it comes down to. If
Yeah.
it's not about shock value, because shock value doesn't interest me. But I think like I've screened it in bars several times, and the reactions from the audience is like amazing to see because you can see audience members reacting to something they haven't seen. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And also part of your message is that you want to empower others to embrace their true selves through your music and visual storytelling. Is that right?
Absolutely, because I think, I think about some of my biggest secrets, so to speak. And For You, I was very honest about the fact that, there were moments in my life where I struggled with like suicidal ideation and stuff like that. And and it's such a thing, we spend so much energy holding on to these things, and then you share them, and then it's almost like, what was I so scared of?
Yeah.
And instead what I'm getting is people messaging me saying, thank you for being honest about this, I've struggled with this. Or people came up to me at my concert, literally friends I went to high school with coming up to me and now feeling like they can share things that they've haven't felt comfortable sharing. And suddenly you spend so much time holding in fear, and once you get past it, you realize we're really fearing nothing,
Yeah.
because the people who are going to respond negatively to it are not the people I, want to have much to do with anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, don't interact with them. Yeah. Well, what else do you hope audiences take away from your music?
I mean, I think I really want them to see someone who is thriving because they've fully accepted who they are, and I want them, I want that to give them permission to do the same thing. Also, I really believe that something that drag queens have been excellent at is building community with each other and lifting each other up that way. And I really want to create a community of queer independent artists. I think we all know where to go find our local drag queens. I don't think we all know where to go find our local live queer artists. So that's why I started the show Extended Play at Verse, where I feature queer artists every month, because I really want to build each other up. I think one success for one of us is a success for all of us. And I think that's really what the drag community has really proved. So that's also something I really want to, as people find my music, I want to be able to lift them up as well.
Yeah, for sure. Extended play, that's what it's called.
Yes, so it's actually going to be this Sunday in New York. So it's the first Sunday of every month,
Okay.
and I feature two artists. I perform, and then I feature two artists every month as well.
Okay, cool. And where's that? Where at in New York?
It's at Verse Bar. It's on Ninth Ave in the high 40s, I believe.
Okay, awesome. Fantastic. Well, Magnus, have you always had this passion for singing and songwriting?
Definitely. I mean, I've been singing since I was very young. I kind of did music and theater separately as a kid, and then later on, I kind of combined them together, and it's almost like back to my roots a little bit. When I was young, I did write a decent amount of music, and I think some of the tough times that the album talks about made songwriting hard because I think I was way too critical, and in this project, I kind of fell back to that and really found back to the love for being able to put something out that is my own and that I'm proud of.
Yeah, definitely. And what have been some of the challenges you face as a queer up and coming indie artist?
I mean, I mean, there are many. I will say, I mean, financially, obviously, putting out a project like this, it's the scope is huge, and the thing for me was everyone loves to say it's so easy to make content these days. So just make content for anyone who's an artist who's either not getting the jobs they're trying to get or what it might be. But I think if anything, it really ups the bar for what you have to do because anyone can make a music video on their phone.
Yeah.
To stand out, you have to go further than that. And you know, I'm with these videos, it's like I'm working with the same equipment that they used to shoot Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
It's not cheap, but for me, I was like, I've performed a lot, but as like a solo artist, this project kind of launched that part of my life. So for me, it was a go big or go home. So it's a huge risk, but I like taking risks, and I felt that in today's media world, if you don't make a splash, a big splash, then people move on in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So I just like dove and I said, let's hope it works.
Yes, let's do it. Yes. So can we expect another EP or a full-length album anytime soon?
Definitely, I definitely working on more music. I will say I've been in touch with a few people, sent in two demos to some people just today.
Okay.
First will be the next music video, and definitely working on more music. I'm not sure if it'll be an definitely not a full-length album to begin with, but singles or another EP is definitely in the works.
Okay, awesome. And I apologize if you hear the noise. I mean, I don't know who the hell decided to mow their lawn at like 6 evening, but thank you. Like, of course, most
Yeah.
opportune time. So besides music, what else brings you joy?
I mean, I've worked as I worked as a teacher within performing arts ever since I got to New York City, and it's something that as the performing side takes over more and more, I really want to continue. I think I had some teachers who were really special to me growing up, and being able to be that for someone else is huge for me. So I love teaching. With my music too, I really want to be able to travel more. My whole family is in Norway pretty much, and then I have a brother in Canada, so we're all spread out. So I keep saying to my parents, I said, listen, if I can if I can travel more for work, then you'll see me a lot more.
Lovely. Yeah.
So that's also a byproduct I really hope will come from all of this. I mean, it's happened a little bit already. I mean, I've performed in several countries, but to be able to make that a more regular thing, I think would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So what are some other future goals you hope to accomplish with your music?
It's I think that, you know, I really want to, it's kind of it kind of speaks to a little bit what we talked about earlier, but I really want to find a way to create like power within a queer community of artists so that it becomes less so that we have to answer to the world of heteronormativity. There's definitely some people who have been able to break out from that, but I think often those are the exceptions to the rule. There's still a lot of pressure to fit in within certain things. And also there's a lot of artists who kind of co-opt the queer image, but it's palatable because they're not. And I think we really want to be able to celebrate queer artists for being queer and all that. And also visual storytelling is huge for me. And, you know, when I write music, I also start sort of buzzing on the visuals. So I really want to continue creating this marriage of music and visual art. So, but it has a big price tag on it. So I really hope to continue that and expand the scope of it.
Perfect. So when you start writing something, do you kind of automatically start envisioning the visual for it?
Kind of, it's not necessarily that it's the video per se, but you know, writing, I imagine the situation. I like if who the person is talking to,
Yeah.
it becomes like, oh, is like, for example, with Until Tomorrow, I literally pictured it as someone walking out the door from a one night stand, and just as they close the door, you say what you wanted to say like 6 seconds earlier. And that really fueled the way I wrote the song. And then, of course, that came to play with how the music formed as well, music video formed as well. So yeah, I think they kind of go hand in hand. But once it comes to actually like digging into the music video concept, it gets complicated because you got to get into location scouting and, you know, all the details of what's possible. Like when you decide, can we film underwater? And then you have to figure that
Yes.
out.
A lot of aspects that go into it.
Yes.
All right, Magnus. Well, how can one stay up to date with you?
Well, you can find me on almost every social media platform under Magnus Riise, which is spelled Rise, because I'm very Norwegian. But yeah, you can find me there, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, well, I guess just call it X now, Facebook, and my videos are on YouTube, and my music can be streamed pretty much anywhere where you can find streamed music.
Okay, perfect. Then before we wrap up, are there any other upcoming projects or anything else you'd like to mention or plug at this time?
Well, I am working on a podcast.
Okay.
Exactly what that podcast entails will come out later.
Okay, perfect.